what do you guys want to design that you think you could use a picture to make it? For instance, here, a proposal idea is to design this massive violin slash guitar. I'm really not sure what it is. It's called balalaika. It's I wrote it there as a Russian free string violin. You could do that with this technique. Maybe we could start with that. If not, another thing that we could do in order to perhaps warm up for now is, let me just, yes, okay. Let me find, maybe in the spirit of, what's your guys' favorite band? Radiohead. I've never heard of them. Let me see. Like these? Yeah. And that's their logo? All right, actually, that's too easy. Give me something a little more complex than that. Japanese breakfast. What does Japanese breakfast entail? Let me. Is it this one? The logo? Is it that one? The logo? You guys listen to music at all? No. Maybe Backstreet Boys. Let me see. Yes. Well, I was thinking about the Beatles as an example, right? But you'll see why. No, you guys are too modern to my taste. I suppose. Let me take this as an example. Suppose I wanted to make a keychain out of this. Let's start easy for now. I will say you have a friend, it's your friend's birthday, and the friend wants a keychain. He's a big fan of the Beatles. How would you do it? Let's design this. And this is just to motivate what we're going to do today. So I'm going to save this image. In the meantime, while I do this, maybe think about your favorite band or something. And then let me call this Beatles logo. Let me save. I don't even know where I saved it, but now we'll go to new, right? We'll start a new sketch and we're going to call this Beatles logo.
Did you change your?
Oh, yes. Let me go here. Anyway, we're here, and you guys remember, if you go to File, then you go to Prepare and Model Properties, you can change your units here. So let's change them for a minute. So I'm gonna make these centimeters as always, then okay, then close, and you see it appropriately appears there. So now let's bring a picture into our sketch. So how do you do that? You go to where it says View, and you go to View, and then to where it says Model Display, and then Images, and then to import, and it's gonna prompt you to select a plane. Right now we're gonna select a plane, but if you already had like a box or something, you could select like one of the sides of your figure. So I'll select this face in there, and now Beatles logo, okay. So you have your picture that is being brought in here, and you can like move it around. The problem is that if you wanted that to be centered, it's gonna be kind of tough because you might need to eyeball this. But there's interesting things that you can do, because suppose you brought a picture of a submarine, like the length in there, and you know that the length is 20 meters. What you could do is go to where it says feet, and say you knew it was 20 meters in that direction. One moment. And it accordingly changes the dimension to 20 like that. It doesn't matter, because as I always say, you can scale things later, but this is an interesting thing. You can, let me see where you can rotate, you can flip, for instance, if you wanted like a weird version like that. But this is fine. I'll leave it as okay. So now we got our picture. So let's go back to model and let's start to sketch. And I'm gonna select that plane in here and I'll go to sketch. I'm gonna create a bunch of sketches. This is a technique that's called, as I think I was introducing last time, the master sketch. All of these sketches, I'm never gonna use them. I will reference them, but I will never use them. And I will first create one that is the outline. Then I will create one that is each one of the letters. And then I might create one that is like a circle around to make like a logo. So let's do that. So I go to this tool that's called spline in here. So let's use it. So I'm gonna start putting a bunch of points. And for those of us that maybe, actually I'm not even sure in what math classes they teach this anymore, but this is a linear interpolation, right? And I think what it's doing, if I'm not mistaken, that's a polynomial. And I just put a bunch of points and it's being nicely connected in a curved way. If you have like this, what I definitely recommend is that when you reach a sharp corner like that one, you see how there's 90 degrees, click on the ball button of your mouse, and that's how you exit the spline. So if you draw something like that, and then if you click escape, you exit the command entirely, and I can go to each one of these points and move them around, like adjust any area that I might not like, so on and so forth. So we got that. So now I generally use a combination of straight lines and splines. So I'm gonna go easy like that, and then let me go. You see, like there, it's gonna look weird, but if I add more points, hopefully it should straighten up. But I will tell you something about that in a minute once I'm done drawing. And once you've placed points, you can all go back. And that's why sometimes you have to make a strategy as opposed to, do I make a single spline? Do I get multiple splines? And there's ways to correct that after the fact, right? But suppose I am happy up to there and I click the ball button of the mouse. So I exit and that looks weird. So I can drag that point towards there. And maybe I'll drag that point. It's not perfect, but it will do. What I should have done, as always, is that the patience that you have in drawing these things will determine the result, right? So possibly you want to add more points if you can. So maybe here, I'm just going to go for it. And I will just create. You see, like there, I don't like it already. So I'll just start again. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on. And you have to be like super patient. But one thing that I was showing a friend of mine the Mongolian violin, which is one of the projects for today. And that friend was mentioning to me that that is not a well-known instrument, right? It's not very well known. But then it came to my attention that there's a ton of like forgotten or lost instruments that no longer exists. So this technique in here is good in the sense that if there's something that might be extremely rare today, but you have a picture of that, what can you do? A 3D model. Exactly like this, just by tracing it all around. Or suppose you lost the keys to your apartment, but you had a picture of it. It's the same thing. How could you, for instance, how do people in like the Home Depot make copies of keys? They probably put your key in like I think it's like in Play-Doh, and they make like a negative, and then maybe with clay or with molten metal, bless you, they create your key. Or you could take a picture of it and design it like this. So now you know. You never heard this from me, but I think some keys are like illegal to like make a second copy of. I mean, where I live, I couldn't make a copy of my key. I have not done it, but if I wanted to, this is how I would probably do it. And boom. So fully connected. So now we got this. But I'm happy, like this is as much as I'll do now. So I'll click on OK. And now what I can do is another sketch in the same plane. And suppose I wanted, just for now, for the sake of time, that way I can let you guys try it out for yourselves in a minute. Let me do the B letter. So I'm gonna go all the way like that. Maybe I'm gonna do a bunch of, doesn't need to be perfect, by the way, right? You can be as detailed or as undetailed as you want. But now I'm gonna go here with the spline. Good. And let me make the interior of this as well. Let me just complete that. For you guys here. Remember, click the ball when you're done, otherwise it wants to continue doing more. And let's do one other part in here. And then I'll show you like the magic step of this thing. By the way, I'm just tracing out the lettering. You guys remember that there's actually this letter command. It's just that the font type for the way they wrote Beatles doesn't exist. So that's why it's the same thing when I try to do Coke cans. The Coca-Cola script is very unique. It doesn't appear there, so you have to trace it all manually. But suppose you did all of your letters, you can say, okay, so now you can start to do something interesting. For instance, I'm going to do a sketch on this same plane in here. So sketch 1 and sketch 2 are our master sketches. We will never touch those. So now I'll go here to project, and I'm going to select a command in here that's called rule-based and all curves on feature. And I will select there, and you see how it selects essentially all of the lines from sketch 1. And I go to OK, good. And now I go finish, let's extrude. And I'm going to extrude that by 10. I don't care. And now let's do another sketch on that face, sketch, and I'll go here back to project. I'll go to this command, rule base, all curves on feature, and now it's like beneath, right? If I click here, it selects all of the B. So notice that this is a new sketch. It's not 2 or 1, which is the ones that we originally used. Those ones we want to leave them as is. We don't want to touch them yet. And I go to OK, and now finish, extrude. So let's do 5. So the idea is that you can build something like this. And then once you're done with all of this stuff, what you could have done if you wanted to complete the logo is I can trace like a little circle, you know, you can eyeball it, something like that. In there, obviously, you remember that you can specify, oh, I actually want that to be 50. These are all of the auto-generated dimensions. Let's do 70. Let's do 30 in there. That's good. I'm going to click on OK. And now we can extrude that downwards by 2. More than a logo, this is like a cake. Oh, what we've done in here. It doesn't matter. But quite interesting. One last thing. I want to let you guys go for a minute, maybe for 20 minutes, to find a picture of your choice. It could be a logo, could be anything that is in 2D. And your task will be to bring that picture and give that volume. This is how I made Pokemon cards, by the way. I take a 2D picture of a Pokemon card that is flat, and I trace it all around like for 3 hours, because that's like, as many details you want to include. And then you, layer by layer, you add some stuff. I'm going to do a sketch now in this phase. And I want to show you something that is kind of neat, which is the following thing. I'm going to go here to, let me try offset for a second. And I'm going to go to rule-based to complete loop. Offset, what it does is that it takes a sketch that you had, and it makes a copy of that like uniformly either outwards or inwards. So I want to see whether it might work with this stuff. So what is it doing? I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to give that 1. Actually, I don't think it's going to... It essentially created the same copy inwards by 0.4. I don't think it's going to... Let me click on OK. Let me see if I can push it more. No. What's the thing in here? Because of the curvature of your line, mathematically speaking, it doesn't want to go more. It's going to be like forbidden. But I could maybe try to give it negative 0.4. So now it's like outwards. So 0.5 was inwards, now it's outwards. In fact, let me try to give it a negative 3. There you go. So I'm going to go to OK. So now you have a sketch that is identical, like an outline that is identical to the one that you originally had, but offset by some amount, in this case 3. So I can go to extrude, and I'm going to extrude that by 2. And let me give it an OK. Not bad. Like it's pretty simple steps of what we've done in here. So what we can do here, if you guys remember, is go to view, then appearances, and for instance, I can go to a color and I can select an individual face and then click the ball button of the mouse and it takes that color. If not, I can select whatever, right? It could be like a metallic like that, green. And if I went to this one that's called intent surface, it selects everything that is associated with, the extrusion or the feature that you've done. So I can do all of those as dark green, so on and so forth. You can color it like that. Questions up to here? So let's do this. Go to your computers, log in, try to work, like find a picture of your choice, and then we'll reconvene in 20 to start doing a musical instrument out of this. If for some reason you don't like your picture, what you can do is go back to view, to model display, to images, and you can always edit your picture again. You could change it in here. In fact, I could also hide it if I don't want it either. But I'll bring it, there we go. I'll just leave it like that. Actually, I'm gonna show it again, but I'll go here to file, new. I'm gonna call it Russian violin. I'm gonna go here to view. Then model display, images, import this face. And I'm gonna bring this guy here. I'm gonna play, this is the one I'm gonna use myself. I'm just gonna trace it out. That's it, nothing too fancy. And I'm gonna go here to model, sketch. And let's draw it. Actually, one thing that I'll mention is that whenever you have an object that has symmetry, one thing that you could do is create a center line, like the one that I'm drawing in here, that only trace half of your thing, and then you can mirror the other half. That might help you later, or at least it will guarantee that things will be symmetric. What I'm gonna give you now, you guys have two choices. You can either continue working with your logo. The logo was you wanna take a seat? Perfect. I'll give you two choices. You can continue with the logo that you had, which is like a warm-up. You can bring another picture, or I'm gonna give you a sketch that looks roughly like that one in here. This one I was just building it a second ago, like the Russian free instrument. We're gonna take this and give this 3D. The sketch that I will give you is the ukulele as an example in this form. And your task will be to convert that into 3D. Because the whole point is that it's being clever and careful about how you make the base sketch. And as you can see, I draw 6 different sketches, and I did it quite fast I didn't add a ton of detail into this thing, so it's not gonna look like great, but it will look recognizable. Say you're time crunched, you only have an hour, so it will do the trick. So let's do this. So suppose you have a sketch like this. I'm gonna go here to mod, which is probably where many of you guys are right now. I'll explain all of the project and how does that work. I go here to sketch. I'll go to this phase, and every time I start with something like this, I want to start with a base, and I'm always going to be building from that. So I go here to that project command in the sketch, and I select all of the lines that I want. For instance, let's start easy with those ones. And now I'm going to connect them there. Fully shaded, nothing too fancy. I'm going to go to OK. And this is our take on this instrument, so it will probably not be correct, but it's okay. So I'll go like this. Good. Now I'm gonna do another sketch in the top face. And now I'll go to the project command, and now I kind of wanna bring this spline in here, and I'll show you what this is in a second. I'll click on OK. If you guys look at the picture that I was basing this from, it's like that. Yeah, like that piece of wood in there, right? So I'll do this. And now, how would I bring those two lines, right? I need to complete the sketch. So I'll go here to project, and I'll select those two lines. I'll click on OK. But it gave me more line than what I need. So you go to delete segment, and you delete that part and that part. And now, as before, you have this piece in here.
What did you push?
Escape.
Oh.
Just because I want to escape the command. And now, okay, extrude. Let's make that like 1 millimeter. Like this is just very subtle, like that. Let's continue with like the bow or like that structure in there. So we go here to that face, sketch, and if you look at the picture, right, it kind of starts in there. So I think that's gonna be fine. So what I'm gonna extrude now is, well, project that line, this line, that line. I mean, you can be fancy and make it in multiple parts. I am a little bit lazy today because I want to let you guys try this out. So I'm going to do the quick way for this. So I'll bring all of those guys there. So now I have that sketch. Notice that I selected this face. So when I go here to OK, and then I go to extrude, and I go to, let's make that like 5, you see that it comes. Maybe this is not necessarily correct. What I could do, for instance, is make that like a 2, that way it barely comes off like that. Then I can do OK. And what I can do is come here to sketch over to that face in here. And I can now project like this, the parts here in the bottom. And now I could make that go for, actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'll go here. Let's say I want that to be 12 as an, or yeah, I think 12 is fine, right? What if, I do not know, I wanted that to have like a cut from the side? This is something that I was gonna teach you in 2 weeks, but I used it so much that now I have to teach you, which is how to create parallel planes. That only that. So I'm gonna create a plane that is parallel to this one, and I'll make it parallel by, I think 50 is fine. I just want a plane that I'm gonna work from in here. So I go here to sketch, I'll go to that plane, okay. And what I'm gonna do is the following thing. I wanna go here to project, but I'm gonna project it as construction mode. So I'll project that line, that line, that line, that line, that line. And look, these are all curved lines in reality. It's just that when they come to my plane, they all appear as a straight line. That makes sense. That's the definition of a projection. And the reason why I did that is because now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go here to construction line, and I wanna do like a cut area. You will see what I mean in a second. I'm just gonna build something that looks. Suppose I wanted to do. Actually, I might project that line too. Remember, if I click on the line, I can make it construction like that. There we go. Let me delete that one. So suppose I wanted to do a cut like this. So I'm gonna go to OK, extrude, remove material. I flip the orientation, and look at that. Very easy in terms of getting something that starts to look like that with just extrudes. And then how can you beautify this thing? I'm gonna round that, and I can say, oh, that is 5. We're almost done, by the way, in like with the base part of the instrument. Then you could go here and make that. That's too much, so let's say 3. Wait. Huh, so why it worked with 5, but not with 3? That's interesting. Let me just, yes. Let me try. Okay, I don't know. Let's say sometimes it doesn't generate because there's the geometry doesn't work out. So let's do that with 5. I'm not complaining. And now let's do another round in here to let's do that like 3. There we go. So very nicely, right? We got like the structure here. I can make like a little round. All of these features, I always apply them at the very end, once we've done like most of our instrument. So say I could do like 10 in there, I could do 10 in here. And I'm gonna add a ton more details to this later. Oh, actually something I just realized about this is that I'm gonna actually, let me delete this for a second. It was getting rid of that. Now I understand what was going on. So maybe I'm gonna do, let's do that like 1. There, now that should be better. Wait. You have to always be careful with checking your designs. But let's continue doing the projection stuff. So I'm gonna go here to sketch, to this face, and now I'm gonna bring all of those lines, right? The little rectangles. Now the trick in here is that I made them all in a single sketch. And why is that useful? If I go to project, and I go to the check mark here, and I go to rule based, all curves on feature, and I select that, it brings all of my rectangles there. So now all I'm gonna do is go here to OK, extrude, and I'm gonna bring them up by 1.
So were the rectangles like a separate sketch from the like basic one?
Yes. So the rectangles were, I think it was my sketch file. So it's like, don't make everything in the same sketch.
What's the reason for that?
Because let me show you again. Suppose I want to draw my rectangles here, right? So I go here to sketch, over to this face, sketch, and now project. I go to that check mark in here, rule based, all curves on feature, and it brings all of them. I don't have to go line by line selecting each one of these rectangles. So I click on OK, and then I'll answer it in a second. And then I go, okay, there. And you know what? Actually, that was too thick at one. So let's do 0.5. And then if you have the patience, which I will, while you guys work on this, you could go to round, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Like there. Question?
What if like feature, like what is feature? Does it mean like everything in the sketch or like?
I think it's everything in the sketch. That's at least that's my understanding of that. But I'll investigate more. But let me show you one last thing because I want you guys to try how to make the strings. The very last step in here. So I'm gonna first go here to sketch on this face, and I need to bring like the tuners. So we're gonna assume that this is an advanced instrument, so it doesn't have the little pegs. It will just be these circles, and they are. So you see, like doing it manually, it's more tedious. And I'm gonna bring this up by 4. So suppose you add them there, right? And now there were 2 pieces. One that's gonna come here. I'm gonna extrude, project that rectangle. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm gonna make this one go, let's say 2. See, 2 might be too little. Let's say 3. Okay. And now I'm gonna do another rectangle in here, which is the one from where they attach, which is that one in here. So I'm gonna do a projection of 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let me extrude by this one. 5 should work. Okay. Ready for the strings? The strings is actually the trickiest part of this thing. We're gonna do a sketch that goes in this plane in here, that one. This is the way I've done it with all 3 instruments. The violin, the Marine Corps, is a little trickier because it was like variable, but in this case, it will work out for our simple case. I encourage you to watch the asynchronous video though. So I'm in that sketch, and suppose I wanted to do the string that goes to that peg. So I'm gonna go here to project, and I'm gonna project just that. So you see how it's like floating in space? That's okay, because all I want is that point in here. And so we are in here. So it's always a good practice to draw a nice center line in here to roughly see where is the middle. And I'm gonna also project that line. That way I know where we are in space. I'm gonna connect these 2 in here. So suppose that I wanted my first string to begin from here, which is a distance of 8. Good. I'll draw a line, just a straight line that will go from that point all the way to that point. Easy. In fact, now that I've done that, I might draw all of my lines in here because we'll use them later. In here, let's make that 8. So let me just draw a line that will go from here all the way. Well, let me just project this one and that one. Okay. Let me make that construction. Let me make that. As I always say, like how good it looks, it's a function of the patience that you have while you're building this and how much time we have. As you can see, it's already 4:20. That I hate that time flies so quickly. And then I click OK. All you're left with are those lines. In fact, I might use this to make the circles later, right? But once you have these lines, there's one last command, which again, I didn't think we would need, but because these are all string instruments, I kind of need, which is called the sweep. You go to that command sweep. And today we're going to do a very easy application of sweep. I click on sweep, then I click on one of these lines. And then I click on sketch. And it takes us here. So you want us to create a profile. I can draw a square, I can draw a triangle, or very easily, I can draw a circle. And I'm going to make that circle be 1. And I click on OK. And voila. So let's do it again. sweep, line, sketch. So now it identified that as being the center. I really don't care which one it uses. So let's make that 1. Okay. Perfect. So you see how it's simplified, right? It's eating into the peg, but you guys get the idea. It doesn't, we don't need to be too fancy. And then let's go here to sweep, line, sketch, circle, 1. Okay. Good. So how long did it take us to get this far? 15 minutes. And you guys can do it too. So what I suggest is that go to the website, right? Like to how to CAD MIT and find the Creo. Let me go here, the repository to Creo, then go to session 2 and download this one, the ukulele. And once you open the ukulele, actually, let's give it a second. We're gonna do the following thing. But let's wait for a second. Oh. That's fine. Let me just go over here. I'll open it from here. I might need to, let me just move this thing from downloads to the desktop. There we go. Apparently I already had the ukulele. I didn't know. Let me open here. So now suppose you're here, right? Just with the timeline bar, go all the way, move the green bar. Like you see, like these are a zillion details. You don't need to add that many, but just move it all the way up to here. Actually, what is sketch 4? I don't even know what it. There you go, up to sketch 3. That's all you need. So start with, so this one, if we look at what is each sketch, right? Sketch 1 is this, the overall outline. But when I projected, say, just that's spline and that's spline, and I connected it and I brought a body. Sketch 2 is the little, this is more carefully done, right? Like I took my time to do them. And sketch 3, the circles. Give it a shot. One last thing I wanted to show you guys with this instrument, which I forgot to say, is that if you're at this step and you want to hollow this thing, go to this command that's called shell, click in shell, and then it will essentially create a shell. So literally, let me show it again. So you're at this step, right? You brought like your body, click in shell, and click the face that you're going to hollow out. And I can say, for instance, I want a wall thickness of 2 as an example, and you click on OK. And now, let me just bring the timeline bar. Again, it generates, well, I have to revisit that part in there. So, but the idea is that now, actually, I can go back here. I can do a sketch on this face, and I can project 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll say OK. And now I can extrude downwards by 3 millimeters. So even though you don't see it yet, this thing in the interior is hollow. Because if I went here to sketch, well, actually, let me go back in time to, let me go up to here, right? So if I went here to sketch, and now I went to project, and I projected, let's go to the picture. You see that hole is open. So if I make that one right here, and now let me do an extrude cut, remove material, but downwards, you see that the interior of our instrument is hollow. Just to be more realistic, right? It's up to you, the level that you want to go for. think what I'll do is I'll stop the video here. And then what I'll probably continue doing is I'll finish coloring this thing and I'll put a picture later. Bye-bye.